that sounds really good. Yeah, my friend was visiting me from Tucson, and we went to Starbucks and I got like a boring iced tea, and it was the total cliche of like she took such a long time to order it, and then it was just like it just looked like a hot fudge sundae to me. It was like
get them without
cookies
coffee,
and
too.
cream frappuccino. I was like, what? That's awesome. Anybody else have coffee drinks they'd like to share? You know this is a coffee-specific panel, right? We're not going to talk about anything except coffee.
Colombian or Brazilian?
Wouldn't know the difference. And you?
Yes, actually Colombian is divided into 20,
Okay.
but that's just because I work in the
Okay, so it's a darker, more dangerous coffee. More bubbly. That's the word we're looking
Different
for.
beans.
Can everybody hear me without the microphone? It feels like a little impersonal to need a mic. Can you guys all hear? Oh, there's still back there. Yeah. Well, let's get started. I mean, if you're not looking for Janet Varney, you're certainly in the wrong room. She politely waits for everyone to file out. Yeah, this is your time, so I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. If I can think of any fun anecdotes off of those questions, I will. I don't really have anything prepared. Please come ready with a question.
Yeah, have you been to Chicago Comic-Con?
I have not been to Chicago Comic-Con. There are many cons, so many more cons than I ever knew about.
It's the second largest.
Second largest, yeah.
To the San Diego.
Yeah, I haven't been to New York. I really my first Comic-Con was San Diego last year that Nickelodeon organized. Obviously the show's only one season out, so I didn't, I hadn't been to Comic-Con up to that point at all. I'd never been to a con because everybody would just tell me how incredibly, the San Diego one is really the one that you sort of think to go to if you're in LA. And people were like, it's so overwhelming, and friends of mine who know that I'm not necessarily like the let's go when there's a huge crowd to anything. I was like, well, I guess I wouldn't really go unless I had something that I was a part of. And I have so many friends in the business who are on shows, who have gone down there year after year, and I think I kind of was like, well, you know what, maybe I'll never go, maybe I won't ever be on anything that will end up having like a con presence. And I think right after I thought that, I booked Cora, and the folks at Nickelodeon were like, you better gear up. And so I did that con, and I just loved, the panel was crazy huge. It was like a 5,000 person panel attended. I would normally say there were 5,000 people on the panel. That would be maybe a lot, but and it was so exciting and so fun to be there with the cast and the creators, and the signing was such a treat. And I just like people, and so it's not a huge effort for me to sort of open up and do signings or take pictures and stuff like that. So in that way, I feel like I genetically was made to do stuff like this, luckily, instead of especially some of the artists. I'm so impressed that people who love not being around a ton of people take the time out to do signings and meet the fans and stuff. For me, it's really easy because I just enjoy that stuff. And so right after I did that, and when Cora started airing, I started getting invitations to come to do events like this, and I pretty much just said yes to everything. I mean, if I've been able to do it with my schedule, I've done it. So really, in just the last year, I did Comic-Con, and then I did an event at the University of Dallas. That's like a little mini college con. I did Anime Matsuri. I went to New Zealand and did Armageddon, which was such a treat. Except that everyone there, the New Zealand, if there are any Kiwis in here, any Kiwis, okay. I'm not gonna say anything mean, but they're so sweet and so polite and so gentle and soft-spoken that, when you guys come up for the signings, everybody's just like, hey, it's great to meet you, I'm a big fan of the show, or whatever, and can you make that out to me? And so it's very American, so we like engage each other, right? And in New Zealand, it's, there's the accent, which is gorgeous, but even the way that they pronounce the same names that we're familiar with is different. And so it would be like, and then they're so polite that they would come up, and I'd be sitting there, and they would come up, and then they would just stand there. And I would say, hi, how are you? And they go, I'm nice. you're having fun?
Oh, yes, thanks.
Are you a fan of the show?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Did you want me to, I have these 3 cards, do you want me to sign one of these?
Oh, that'd be great.
Which one do you want?
I'll have that one.
Okay, should I make it out to you?
Oh, yes, please.
What's your name?
Oh, it's Claire.
What is it?
It's Claire.
Is it Claire?
Oh, yeah, it's Claire.
Oh, okay. C-L-A-I-R-E?
No, K-L-Y.
It's just like, it was just that. It was like always a different spelling. And so I just had no voice by the end of every day. Again, the sweetest, most wonderful people in the world, but it's really interesting to kind of see the way that we, as Americans or as Canadians or just this sort of North American world of English speakers, how different it is. And I just felt like a big old loud like Muppet the entire time I was there, but it was okay. It was okay. We got through it. So I did that, and then Comic-Con again in San Diego, and then here. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything, but I think that's it. But I love it, and so I've just kind of put myself out. I've just said like, I'd love to come to do Chicago or New York or Seattle or any of those, but I think they're still getting to know the show a little bit, some of those bigger cons, and I don't know, so the invitations haven't come in yet, but if they do, I'll take them.
Yeah, we got one next month right here too. It's called the Tampa Bay Comic-Con too.
Tampa Bay Comic-Con?
Yeah, it's
There's so many.
You have like Will Shield go be here, from and one lady from the Walking Dead.
Okay.
Lori from
Okay,
Walking Dead.
yeah.
Yeah, cover the cast and the 2 of them from the Game of Thrones.
From Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Who was there in at Armageddon? There was God, why am I blanking on his last name? Jason. You guys know Jason. He's on Stargate too. What's his name? Jason Momoa. What a doll. That guy, one of the coolest, not to just like nerd out with you guys, but Lance Henriksen. Oh yeah, so I would totally geek out with you on other shows too. Lance Henriksen did Korra, and so I had already met him, but still, I was so just like, Lance Henriksen's so cool, he's like an icon. Which is how I react every time we have a guest like that. And Mike and Brian have the same geeky taste as I do, so they just keep like handing me these guest stars that I'm like, Clancy Brown, just like everybody who comes in, I'm like, oh my gosh. Totally freaked out on J.K. Simmons the first time I met him. When I was recording my first scene with J.K., Andrea, I told the story before, but Andrea Arano, our amazing vocal director, was like, okay, so we're gonna move on to the scene with Tenzin and Korra, and I was like, I'm sorry, could you just say we're gonna move on to the scene with Janet Varney and J.K. Simmons? I just want to hear our names together. I just want to hear our names sandwiched together. But he's wonderful. And then you guys have seen probably the announcement for some of the cast members for book 2. I love Lisa Edelstein. I've loved her since before she was on House, because she's just such a funny, great, strong actress. And I didn't know that she was going to be doing book 2, and so I saw her. I pulled my car in to the Nickelodeon parking lot, and she pulled in next to me, and we both got out. And there's so much other stuff always going. There's a million things going on in Nickelodeon at any given time, so it just didn't even occur to me. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Lisa Edelstein's parked right next to me. What do I do? Do I say something? Do I just smile at her? And as I was trying to make that decision, she was like, morning. And I was like, oh, good morning. Good morning. It is morning. That's great. You're so smart. And then I think one of us took more time than the other. So then I just went in, and then I sat down for our table read, and then she walked into our room, and I was like, what? She's that? And that's how I found out that she was actually doing the show. So I totally geek out whenever we bring people like that in. And so Jason Momoa and Lance Henriksen were both in New Zealand, and I just love, I had no idea that they knew each other, But one of my favorite moments from Armageddon was like this kind of meet and greet party that we had when everyone got in, and Lance walked in, and Jason like pushed everyone out of the way and grabbed him and picked him up and spun him around, which was like so surreal. Like just to see Lance Henriksen getting flopped around like a rag doll was like the best. It was so cool because they were buddies, and yeah, so I don't even know what. Oh yeah, so Armageddon, yeah. It's always cool to see what other guests are going to be there, and they also had like a panel of. I'm trying to remember who it was. I like freaked out on, I guess of trolls. Wait, that's not right.
Andrew?
Right? What are the? Listen, this is when I stop geeking out for a second and just become stupid. Like the main characters in The Hobbit that are like the god, right? The guys. The what?
The dwarves.
The dwarves! It's not that I don't know, it's just like sometimes I have a word aphasia for situations like this and life. Like when I would go up to order coffee, I'd be like, what is that brown stuff? This. They had a dwarf panel because they're shooting the second movie in New Zealand right now, and so they had a bunch of the dwarves there, and everyone kept talking about the hot dwarves. The hot dwarves. The hot dwarves are here. We got to get a picture with the hot dwarves. So that's like the two young hot dwarves, right? Like one of the guys, I can't remember, but the other guys on Being Human, or in the British Being Human, right? And so one of the girls who works on that con was like, oh, we got to go take our picture with the hot dwarves. And so they weren't in like makeup or costumes. And so we went and got our picture taken, and I was like kind of ho-hum about it because, I mean, they're very cute guys, and The Hobbit's a great movie, and I got to tour Hobbiton, which was really cool, and the workshop, right? I said that right? Yeah. And then I suddenly realized when I was in the green room that one of my favorite British actors of all time that I've had a huge crush on for years. And when you live in Hollywood, you get to work with and meet a lot of famous people, and it doesn't necessarily kind of impact you the way now for me, the BBC is like my Hollywood. Like those are all actors I never see, and I watch all those shows because that's kind of how I escape, because it seems like I know someone on every other show that's on in LA, and so his name is James Nesbitt, if you guys know who that is. He was Jekyll in the Stephen Moffat remake of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I like put it together because I know him for so many things that he was going to be there, and I could not have been more like flustered when I met him. I did the whole thing. Like sometimes people come up to me and say stuff like this, they're just like, I'm so excited to meet you. I totally did that. I was like, I have everything that you've ever tried to see, everything you've ever done. And I totally forgot that I was like there for like a reason, like a show that I could be proud of. Like we were there as peers. The Armageddon poster was like Cora and then everyone else. And still, he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, ah! I don't remember. Like I just remembered, and I got my picture taken with him and the whole thing. So it's like these events are such a great opportunity for me to like totally geek out on shows that I love, and I geek out on my own shows. I think Mike and Brian are geniuses. So anyway, that was a really long story/answer. But who else wants to ask anything? Sir?
Yeah, I'm probably the oldest person in the building, and I became a fan of The Last Airbender when the season first started. The kids had it on. They said, Dad, you want to watch this cartoon show? I'm like, I'm a little old for cartoons.
Right.
And I heard this wicked drumming coming out of their room, and I'm like, what is this, And it turns out it was Stuart Copeland playing. He did the drums, I guess, for the first 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
To be honest, I don't know. Is that true?
I think it was Stuart Copeland. Yeah, from the Police. He did the percussion in the first 2 seasons.
He's like the best drummer that's ever lived.
One of the top 5.
Thank you. Adam, you're going to be our official intern for this.
You were
This panel.
No, he just knows.
I've each one of your names. I've seen all of your pictures, and we did background check on all of you. Yeah, you can be our official, our panel intern, so you can look up to see if that's true, because that's amazing.
It is.
Because I'm a huge fan.
And it's not
Say it
even,
again?
you
Stuart
can look them up and it doesn't say anything.
Stuart,
It says
Stewart,
Stuart Copeland, Copeland, but it doesn't say anything about it. He does other Nickelodeon shows, like on his website, you can go there and he talks
I know
about
he
that.
does live
But he doesn't
films
talk
for
about
us
The
and
Last Airbender. And I also wonder, whatever made them...
And it wasn't the film. We don't talk about that.
No.
It's definitely the show.
No, it's the show. That's what I was going to ask about. Whatever made them let them use the name for the movie? Because it kind of, when I tell people I'm a fan of Avatar, they're like, "Oh, that's a great movie." I'm like, "No, not the movie."
Oh, that they think you're talking even about the
Yeah,
James
they
Cameron
kind of
movie.
ruined the whole thing, you
Yeah,
know?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
can't
There's
use
the
it, right?
Airbender movie, and then there's the Avatar
Get out.
movie.
Kind of messed it up.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah,
a big
it's
promoter
confusing.
of
Now
Avatar.
people just say Last Airbender, they talk about
And
it,
they just
yeah.
move it, and you're like, no, not that garbage.
The reason that they couldn't use Avatar for the horrible, god-awful movie that they made was that James Cameron, when he was originally writing, he wrote the script and stuff for Avatar like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he actually went and got the name copyrighted then. So he holds a copyright from like the early 90s or something,
Yeah.
way before Avatar.
Yeah, because an Avatar is not necessarily like branded to one thing. It doesn't have to be. That's just an expression that we use when we talk about having like a gaming persona, right? Or
It's a noun, right? It's like a noun
yeah,
you can
exactly,
use for anything.
exactly. And so thank you.
That's interesting.
So James Cameron, I guess, had the rights to
Owned
it.
the rights to it.
That's what makes all of this confusing now too. Cora,
Did you watch all of Avatar?
the first series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I hadn't seen all of it until I got the job. I had started watching it, and then I got scared to get too excited when I found out that like I was in the mix to possibly become Cora. So then I revisited it, and now I get really confused because we're recording also. Like, we've done season 2, but sometimes we go in and do ADR because the animation takes so long. But then we're also recording pickups for season 3, but we haven't seen the animation for that yet. But sometimes they change the script after they've started animating the show. And then we're now recording new scripts for season 4. So and a lot of stuff happens, and so now I like can't. It's terrible. I get so confused of like, am I allowed to say so? No, I can't. Is that how? No, like it just all everything is all lumped together. But how about you? Were you a fan of the?
Oh, I
first
watched
season?
it the
Yeah.
first when it first came out. We sat every week, we'd sit and watch it, and my mom knew Zuko was going to be good by the first book. She's like, no, he'll end up good.
Nice.
She
Nice.
loves him. He's her favorite character. We've always watched it.
Oh,
Whole
that's
family.
so great. I'm so glad to hear it. Yes. Who's the favorite who? Oh, pairing. Like when shit, just like surprising stuff. Oh man, I can't remember. Somebody put somebody with Azula that I thought was hilarious and kind of perfect, and I can't remember who it was. I wish I could remember. Maybe. What about you?
I like Zuko and Katara.
You do? You like Zutara? Yeah. Isn't that who Dante was saying? Yeah. Before? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Well, if he did, I can't find it.
Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I love Cerebral. I mean,
we're on his official website right now. Showing
Alright.
the soundtracks he did too.
I'm gonna ask
Jeremy
Mike Bryan
Zuckerman
because
that
he
did
is like my dad's a drummer and my dad raised me like on the Police and
Yeah.
so I'm very vocal whenever anyone's talking about famous drummers. I'm always like Stuart Copeland is the best that ever will be.
Definitely in the
cool
top
if I can
5.
back that up and be like,
He's definitely in the top 5. They
Yeah.
say that, the Billboard music and all that always has Stuart Copeland in
Yeah.
the top 5. And
Well,
people don't
music
even
in
know.
general too of the shows, right? Like the soundtrack
Yeah.
came out finally,
I know.
and it's so amazing. And I always get teased because I cry like every second I can when I'm watching the show because I just get so sentimental about it. And I realized when I was watching not like it was the first time I realized this, but when we were watching the trailer at Comic-Con for the second season, I was crying again. I was like, wait a minute, a lot of this has to do with how good the music is. It's so beautiful, right? It's just so special, and the soundtrack's done really well. I think Mike and Brian were saying that it was like the #1 soundtrack on Amazon the second it came out. It was like number 5 in general in all music on iTunes or something. It was like really, really well received. So it's nice because it took such a long time to come out that, I'm sure that it must feel really good to know that it was worth, putting out and that people were really waiting for it and anticipating it. Who else had a question? You and then you. Rachel Corwin.
Shut up.
I'm always interested to hear. I know that there's a lot of kind of more abstract stuff out there. And I know that there's some real fans of Tano out there, which I think is really fun. Because he's such a fun character, yeah. But you know, I just to kind of stay tradish, if we're talking about between the two main guys, I love Bolin. I mean, that is totally, I will go for the funny guys, so, yeah, I mean, everybody knows. And PJ Byrne is just like the dearest, most funny, wonderful. He's about to be a dad. Which is really cool. Yeah, he's like so much fun. We just have a blast together. And David, I love David as well. We all have such a great time together. But yeah, the giggly, goofy, like improv guys, you know, that's near and dear to my heart. So that's my answer. It's never changed. It's always been like that. Yeah.
Was the sudden change to go from live action comedy to animation?
Oh, for me?
Yes.
It was really cool. It was something that I really, it was a goal for sure. Like I hadn't had really a lot of voiceover experience. I'd done a little bit in San Francisco, and I lived there just like through friends of mine who were animators and stuff like that. I spill something every day, by the way. It's like, speaking of a goal, it's an unintentional goal that gets met every single day. But I hadn't done that much, and when I moved to LA, I didn't have any experience, or I didn't have a reel or anything like that, and it took me a long time to work up the courage to ask my commercial agent, who also had a voiceover division, if they would even I was like, I'm interested in voiceover. Do you guys recommend any workshops or classes? And he was like, I'm really glad you said something, because they were at the time they were teaching their own classes, and so they would meet at night and they were free. And so I went through and took all of their kind of workshops that they were doing, and they started, having me audition for stuff. And the voiceover world is not unlike the acting world, but it's very different. So it's like it takes a long time to break into the acting world, and then it takes a long time to break into the voiceover world, unless you're like mega famous and people are hiring you because you're Jennifer Aniston and they've decided they want you for Iron Giant or whatever. It's not like you just do an instant crossover if you're like working as an actor. That's not really enough to open any eyes, because there are so many incredibly gifted voiceover artists who've been working way longer, and why give the work to someone new that you don't know. I auditioned for stuff, and I got a few commercials, and then I got a couple of pilots that didn't get picked up. One of them was for Nickelodeon, and so they brought me in to read for Cora, and I was like, it's been such a dream of mine for such a long time to do animation. It's just, especially being in comedy and having a lot of friends who were on really funny shows. So I assumed, I thought, if I get hired for anything, it'll be because I do a lot of improv and I do a lot of sketch, so I can do character voices and stuff like that. And so when I was auditioning for Cora, I was like, well, I'm never gonna get this. This is like serious acting. I mean, this is really demands a lot. It's funny, but it's also very sincere and tough, and there's fighting, and I thought, I'm not gonna, what voice am I gonna do? And then, when I went in, they were like, oh no, we want really natural voices. We just want you to essentially use your voice, but find that kind of character and attitude, and maybe that will inform any slight tweak that your voice takes on. And so I did that, and I just really didn't expect it to go any further. I thought, this isn't gonna be, I'm not gonna bring anything special to this the way I would some crazy, goofy thing. And, it just turned out that the guys now say that, they couldn't have known this then because they didn't know us as people, but the more Brian and Mike got to know PJ and David and I, they just were saying at Comic-Con how funny it is that they feel like we do imbue a lot of we just have a lot of qualities that they said, it must have somehow crept in your initial auditions, because the more we get to know you, the more we think of you like that. And PJ is a great example. It's when we're recording, PJ's just improvising, and his energy's so bubbly and so high, and he's just bouncing all over the place. And they were we honestly thought he was bringing that into the room with him to give us Bolin. And then when we started doing appearances with them, they were like, oh my God, he's just like that all the time. 100%. like, he was saying stuff to, when he was meeting fans and saying stuff, like just in interviews and stuff, that they were literally writing down and putting into saying in scripts. They were like, oh my God, that's so Bolin. So somehow it just ended up being, and I think that's maybe a good, I mean, again, there's so many different types of voiceover work, and I do hope to someday do, you know, like just a wacky, like, I'm a mushroom on this crazy show, and whatever, you know, and my voice is really whatever. But I think that this is why for me it's one of the best acting jobs, if not the best acting job I've ever had, is that this show is so textured and so rich, and it has so many different levels to play that I feel like I'm getting to do, you know, I'm not saying I'm doing great acting work, but for me, it's the best opportunity for me to really perform as an actor. And I never knew that would happen without a camera in front of me, but it's, you know, I'm so lucky, just so lucky. Every sentence I say in here should end with, I'm so lucky, because that's definitely how I feel. Who else had a question? You, and then you, sir.
I just wanted to know what your favorite scene was in Metrocon.
My favorite scene? Oh gosh. I lose it when in the episode where Lin Beifong sacrifices her son. I mean, I just like I was sobbing. Oh, she's so amazing. I love that scene. I love there are a lot of little moments that I love. Like I love when Mako and Korra wake up sleeping next to each other and they're like, how do I feel about this? I love how jealous of Asami Korra is. I was so loyal to Korra that the first time I saw, and Seychelles is amazing and wonderful. The first time I saw a picture of Asami, I was like, no! She's gorgeous! Gross! It's so mean! Why did you do that? Like every panel, she's just perfection, you know, and I was like, oh, she's so beautiful. So all of that all of those dynamics, I love. And then I love Tenzin. I love Tenzin trying to keep it together. You'll see in the second book. I mean, they screened it at Comic-Con, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it if you didn't somehow see. You know, I don't know. Hopefully that didn't get leaked, but I will say that now that people kind of can talk about it because there were so many people who saw it at Comic-Con. There's a lot of stuff in the first episode with Tenzin trying to show how relaxed he can be, like in vacation Tenzin is an expression, and that's just like, I love that stuff. I love, you know, him trying to keep it together and be this sort of like sage, you know, airbender, and every time he like his face gets red and like sweat comes off and his eyes get really huge, it makes me laugh really hard. So that was like 8 answers in one.
How did it feel playing against Steve Bloom?
He's so great. I mean, what a great, terrific guy, but what a scary voice and what a very chilling. He's just a tremendous actor, tremendous performer. And, you know, anytime we have people like that coming in, it just makes our job so much easier. I mean, that's another reason I think we geek out so much on the caliber of performers that Mike and Brian are securing for us and the Nickelodeon are getting for us, because it just lifts us up. You know, it's like in improv, we always say you want to be on a team and you want every single person to be a better improviser than you are. It's not about competing with those people. It's knowing that being surrounded by people who are great, right? They also say, you know, if you're playing tennis or if you're playing a sport, play with somebody who's way better than you, because it really takes you to the next level yourself if you're willing to kind of try to meet people at that level. And I think Steve's a great example of that is, you know, if you're acting opposite Steve or you're acting opposite, you know, Eva Marie Saint, you know, I mean, working with someone who was in an Alfred Hitchcock movie is so like an iconic movie. It just makes you want to do a better job, and it really makes the scene come alive, you know, when you have the opportunity to really spend the time recording it with the other actor. So, yeah, he's so great. He's so great. Who else? Okay, Purple. You gentlemen, I'm going to call you Elvis Costello, and then you. Purple, Elvis Costello, and Beatty.
How do you gear up for a fight scene? Do you just like how do you get into the mood for making all of those aimed
Yeah.
sounds.
Well, my background is in jiu-jitsu. Oh, I wish that were true. What if I was like, well, they model all the moves after me, so it's not that hard. No, well, with the fight stuff, I would say 100% of the fight stuff is we do 2-picture. So, right, we record all of the